Toronto, in fact, has always been rather like a collection of village neighborhoods. This one is called Yorkville, and although it was a suburb 100 years ago, it's now just a few blocks from major downtown intersections. As recently as a decade ago, Yorkville provided shelter for American draft dodgers who gravitated here during the Vietnam War, and for a time subjected Toronto to a rather severe case of culture shock. These few blocks became the psychedelic capital of Canada, sort of Kings Road West or Haight-Ashbury East, and it was all decidedly out of sync vis-a-vis the sober, restrained Toronto mindscape. But as you can see, things are more or less back to normal. The spaced-out 60s gave way to the reined-in 70s. The native Torontonians decided to exploit the new arrivals as a tourist attraction, much as the Aurelians did with the ghost of Stephen Leacock. What had been a slum area was treated to some rather Tony restoration jobs, and of course the yippies moved out and were last seen living as solid citizens in suburbia. I suspect that some of the appeal that Toronto has for me is gained by default, so to speak. I tend to follow a very nocturnal sort of existence, mainly because I don't much care for sunlight. Bright colors of any kind depress me, in fact, and my moods are more or less inversely related to the clarity of the sky on any given day. Matter of fact, my private motto has always been that behind every silver lining there's a cloud. So I schedule my errands for as late an hour as possible, and I tend to emerge along with the bats and the raccoons at twilight. And Toronto's a very good place for that, because unlike many cities in America where the exodus to the suburbs has met a total decay at the city core, Toronto's maintained some pretty vital neighborhoods downtown. In fact, American visitors are always quite surprised that you can walk these streets at night, virtually all night, and not get mugged. And it's true you can, although I still prefer to drive them, I must admit. The problem is, of course, that there is a certain stylish self-consciousness about all of this. I would like to think that the urge not to conform, the urge not much to care whether we're up to date with New York or Paris or whatever is supposed to be latest in the fashion mainstream, that will always be part of the Toronto character. I would like to think that, but I'm not really sure that that's so. I hope it's so. But I'm afraid sometimes that our good press has gone to our heads just a bit.
I don't believe it. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Some people say this is Toronto's answer to the Galleria in Milan. Whether that's true or not, it sure ain't your average Montblanc kettle corner store. It's called Eaton's Centre, and it's the flagship of a vast retail empire, which, despite its size, has always been a family concern. The family concerned are the Eatons, and the founder of their dynasty was a very proper and prosperous Victorian named Timothy. When I was a child, and indeed until very recently, this city was referred to as Toronto the Good. The reference was to the city's Puritan traditions. One could not, for example, attend concerts on the Sabbath until the 1960s. It wasn't possible to serve alcohol in any public place until very recent years. In fact, there are still parts of the city which are dry, as they say, 7 days a week. And a current furor down at City Hall is over the issue of whether or not Torontonians should be permitted to drink beer at baseball games. I'm not making these things up, but you have to understand that as a non-concert-going, anti-athletic teetotaler, I approve all such restrictions. I, perhaps rather than the hero of George Santayana's famous novel and The Last Puritan. So I always thought that Toronto the Good was a very nice label to have pinned on you. But a lot of my fellow citizens got very upset about it and decided to prove that we could be just as bad as any other place.